What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Flying Squid Podcast. This one is live, and it's the end of the world. So there's a lot to talk about. We just did a couple of new podcasts. We've got a lot of stuff that we've been working on. We are live. I'm joined with Kelly Petronis.
Hey, Owen. Glad to be here.
I got Christine Williams.
Hello.
Hey, and Mr. Keaton, Mr. Eric Keaton.
What up?
The man with one name, which is also three names.
That's correct.
My dude. We are happy to be here, folks, doing everything that we can do in this new reality. And we thought we would just chat a little bit about what we've been doing because we were on a specific track. We know this is everybody's story. We were on a track. We had a goal. We were doing things. And then all of a sudden, things changed. And what is the new normal? What do we face? We know that we want to encourage everybody out there to be as cheerful as possible and optimistic and laugh and share joy and do those types of things. And also have, a discourse and be able to talk about these kind of things and be smart and all of that stuff. So that was a long intro.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I feel like we, we've been going live a lot the past few days, and mostly it's been pretty whimsical and fictitious and kind of in a very imaginative world, which for my part, that's like what I like to do always, because I feel like everyone's so bound up in kind of like the neuroticism of the news cycle and all that, and I just want to break that. But this is us just kind of coming to you real, and to talk about kind of our situation and what it looks like from the lens of comedy and events, and if you want to call in at some point and talk, our number is 575-322-8733, and we'd be glad to talk to you.
Yeah.
Christine.
Yeah.
You just did the most amazing Instagram live on our Instagram. Guys, if you haven't already, get over on Instagram right now and check it out. Follow us on there. We are learning to navigate all the social media.
We need 10,000 followers so that we can put a link
in our story.
So, guys, we're almost there. We're gonna combat the corona charts. Of like the giant ski ramp going up. We're gonna have our chart of the Instagram following challenge. We're shooting for 10,000. We're at like 400. This thing's gonna skyrocket.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
Just rolling in.
But fuck. What the hell? Here we are. And I back to your point about, creating in this other world, playing in this other world. This is what we do a lot in improv. And then you have, I'd say that probably in general stand-up's more probably based on like some true idea or thing or something, right? Where it's less in that playful world.
More reality referential.
Something like that. So I value both. I like the humor in the reality that's steeped into it as much as I like the playful, character-based reality. Or the comedy based on those two things, and every angle is valid, but it's fun to actually talk about this stuff too, because that's also funny. It's funny how kind of ridiculous the situation that we find ourselves in is. And do we have somebody calling in?
I think so.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for calling in. You can call in. That is legit. The number's for real.
Super cool.
You can call in. I'm having a second to try to pull it up here properly. It's if the person who just called would like to call back, I should be able to answer it. Still figuring out the technical side of all of this, of course. But back to this idea of like who's based in the reality world. Okay, well, let's see here.
Yeah, you can use that chair. Are those headphones working for you? Those headphones working?
Hello.
Awesome.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Who are we speaking with?
My name's Jake.
Hey, Jake. We know you.
Hey, Jake. Hey, buddy.
Oh,
Hey.
hey, what's up, guys? Oh, hey. Oh, it's you guys.
Hey, it's
Oh,
It's actually us
Sometimes
this
other
time.
people pick up this number. I don't know if you guys know that.
Is that Jake?
it is.
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
This guy.
Oh.
So people are stealing our phone number? What's going on with that? That's not cool.
Well, I didn't say steal. I don't know if people are stealing it. Maybe I'm misdialed. You know, I don't always check what number I dial when I call in places.
That's fair.
You know,
That makes sense.
You live life on
Yeah.
the edge. That's the kind of guy you are. You're a cowboy.
I'm a cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
I live life on the edge. I eat the Edge pizza. My favorite band member of U2 is the Edge.
Very nice.
I am a cowboy. I
Yeah.
am a cowboy. I had a.
Cowboy
I don't know
camp.
if you guys know this, but I had a job where I milked cows one summer.
Oh yeah. My girlfriend used to do
Well,
that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, until she was killed by cows. No,
Oh, wow.
she's fine. It's-
Bessie.
No.
Oh, no.
My favorite cow did get put down, and that was I was kind of torn up about it.
Who was your favorite cow?
718. They
Mine was 234.
really. I feel like
Yeah.
how have we never talked about this?
I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre.
What was it about 234 that you liked?
Didn't give me no guff.
Mm-hmm.
234, very easy cow. His name was Goggles.
Goggles.
Goggle.
Had a calm, sweet demeanor, you know? And that goes a long way. Frankly, if we're speaking about cattle, that goes the distance as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of animals, have you guys been watching the Tiger King on Netflix?
I didn't know that
No,
was.
no, is that a
I wanna watch
reality
it.
show?
You've seen it,
None of
Christine?
you have watched it? What have you guys been doing?
No, I was gonna watch it last night, but then I watched something different.
Oh my gosh.
What did you watch?
Electric Children.
Electric Children.
Yeah,
sounds made
it's
up.
it's on Amazon. I've seen it before. It's
The
one of the
lion,
writers of
tiger.
Stranger Things, or one of the writers and directors of Stranger Things, and it came out in 2012. It's a good movie.
What was your show,
Oh, okay.
Jake?
Yeah, what'd
Tiger
you-
Boss? What was it
Tiger
called?
Yeah.
It's called
Tiger
Tiger
Balls.
King.
Tiger. It's like a takeoff of Lion King.
Oh my god.
Oh, so you have seen it. You said you didn't see it. Now you know exactly what it is.
Oh my god.
Tell us a little bit more about
No.
you. Tell those listeners out there a little bit more about you. Where are you calling from?
How do you know
How do you
us?
know us?
Yeah.
And why are you prank calling us all the
And why
time?
you moved across the country to get away from us?
I never prank called anyone. The number was on the internet, and I called. And then these strangers pick up the phone half the time.
These hooligans.
Um,
That's interesting.
My name is Jake. I'm calling from Sin City, Boyle Heights, California.
Whoop, whoop.
And I know you guys because I guess I entered into a cult with all of you this summer.
Slightly. That feels like not inaccurate.
Which one? Like,
Which one? Yeah. That's the,
All we need is a one-word suggestion to get started. I heard quarantine. Hey, buddy, what are you doing with the cure?
Oh,
There we go. That's our quarantine scene right there. Are we going to do a little improv?
We
Can we
can.
Yeah.
do
Let's do.
some improv?
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. What's the suggestion? Quarantine?
Quarantine.
Or tigers.
No.
Tiger Kings.
No, let's get a real.
Tiger King.
Yeah, what is Tiger King?
Let's see if somebody's on the YouTube live, and I'll see if they'll give us a suggestion.
Yeah, if you guys, yeah. What about pegging?
Yeah.
No, really, but
Okay,
what do you guys do?
is
Oh my god.
pegging.
What are you guys doing in about 3 weeks?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's gonna be desperate, man. People are gonna get desperate out there. There's gonna be a lot of babies made. We're gonna have a lot of Corona kids,
Yeah,
COVID
Corona
kids.
What do you?
COVID.
I can't
What do you
raise.
guys
I can't
think
raise this
is,
child. I'm social distancing.
Yeah, can you guys explain to me? Are you all in one room together, 6 feet apart, or what's happening?
Well, it's more like five. If I can be honest, Jake, it's more like 5.5.
All right, Polo is someone said in the chat.
Oh, man.
Polo.
But Christine is
Okay.
piped in through online, and Keaton, Owen, and I are hanging out in one room. Don't tell anybody.
Your secret is
Polo.
not safe.
We're definitely
With
6 feet apart.
Polo.
We are every bit of 6 feet apart. Every bit.
Yep.
100.
Well,
Oh, and it's
that's why.
your mom.
Well, you are, but that's why I am 5.5.
5.5.
I'm 5 and 6. No.
That's a good
Hey,
suggestion.
Marietta. Can we give a shout out?
Yeah, Mom, thanks for checking out the show.
Marietta, we have a sketch
Leave
with
it-
you in mind called Get Mommed. Just be ready.
Yep.
It's going to
I
be good.
just want to say, leave it to a couple of men who don't know the difference between 5 feet and 6 feet, like 5 inches, 6 inches. This joke isn't fully formed, but I'm trying it out.
I like the premise. It's funny.
It's all right. So what are we doing? Polo?
Polo. And we'll see this in 5,
4,
3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to the Coachella Polo Grounds. Today we are seeing
They
two
didn't,
amazing polo teams.
Whoa. Didn't they used to have concerts here? When did Coachella start getting polo matches?
Yeah, this is like really. This is far out, dude.
Right? Like, I thought music was going to happen. Like, all we're going to see is like a polo match?
Oh wait,
Yeah.
oh shit, there he is. That guy's got a guitar on the back of that horse. What the heck?
But he's not even playing, he's just hitting a ball.
Why
don't
Buck Stallion. Huh. Interesting.
Oh, wait,
name.
no, I guess he's playing the Eagles? Is that the corpse of Glenn Fry on top of a horse?
Oh my god. Where, Jeremy? Where did you bring me for spring break? I think we slipped into some sort of a portal.
Desperado.
You know, yeah, now that I think about it, I thought we were going to Coachella, but I think we took that wrong turn, and, you know, I think that vortex, maybe we shouldn't have gone in there.
You know, I'm always like, do I go in the vortex? Do I not go in the vortex? But shit, we end scene.
We went in the vortex. You know,
That's fun.
this is all happening so fast. Can we just go over to that elote stand over there and get an elote? Maybe a funnel cake or something? I am famished.
What is an elote, hippie?
What is an alert?
Moved up to California now.
The
He's
Glenn
on
No, I don't know
Yeah.
anymore.
The scene got him. It's like, oh,
The scene.
So
the scene,
yeah,
man.
admittedly,
Who's that now?
The scene. Is it gluten free?
What is an elote?
I'm sorry,
though?
are you in? Are you in line, sir? Are you in line for the elote?
Excuse me, sir.
Gluten-free.
Excuse me, sir.
Of course it's
Excuse me,
gluten-free.
sir. I thought we were supposed to be 6 feet apart. Do you mind backing up a little bit? That'd be great. I want an
Oh, I'm
elote.
sorry.
I've never had one before. I think that lets me. I think I should be able to go before you. Seems fair only. Here, take a little hand sanitizer. Let's call it even.
Okay, well, I didn't agree to this, but thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Enjoy your elote. I hope you enjoy your first elote.
Cut to the elote dealer speaking with his wife later about how this guy didn't know what an elote was.
We had pictures of corn everywhere, and he comes up and he's like, "Oh, what's going on here? What is this? Is it gluten-free?" I tell you, Linda, it was not an easy day.
I'm so sorry. I don't know. People just went crazy after that pandemic. Like their brains are wrong now. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, you thought life was tough before the pandemic, and then now, people don't even recognize a husk of corn.
So sad. So sad. I'm kind of hungry for some elote right now.
Well,
Honey, is it
good thing for you, we
elote
have
or is it
plenty of it.
elote? I still don't know.
Linda, are you serious right now? You don't know? Linda, we've been married for 30 years.
Cut to the divorce court. Here we have Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and it seems to be that you are getting divorced because of, is it elote?
Yes, it's elote. It is a delicious corn treat. And my wife doesn't seem to know that.
Mrs. Johnson, you don't know what this is either, do you?
I always just called it Mexican street corn, and he gets so mad that I can't remember the actual name for it. And I'm so sorry, and I wish I could go back and just have never asked that question I asked him that night.
Well, as part of your guys' vows, you did agree to look everything up before you came to any sort of hard conclusions. So, unfortunately, you received none of your prenuptial agreement. I'm sorry.
Damn.
Cut to Mrs. Johnson at a Mexican restaurant. And here you go, ma'am. Here's your Mexican street corn, like you asked for.
This looks different. It's different than. Wait, what is that on there? What's that red stuff? What?
That's salsa. Salsa, ma'am. It's a fine Mexican salsa. What does it look different from?
I don't know. My ex-husband just used to make it better, and he called it something like pelote. Have you heard of it?
Elote, yes, I have heard of that. I'm sorry that this is triggering some sort of relationship problems, but I think, ma'am, we have other people in line behind you that are trying to order. I'm very sorry. I can make you something else if you'd like.
Just a tequila. Just a tequila on the rocks. I'm gonna need that.
Can I see your ID, please?
It's elote, you dummy. Come on, hurry up and order, you Jesus Louises.
Oh my God. Hold on. Yes.
End scene.
Oh, that was picture perfect. That was
Nailed it.
That was some amazing online improv, guys.
That was so tight.
Man.
It's like we've been it's like we've seen Jake for weeks.
It's like we've been practicing in isolation for a long, long time, right? It's just what we do.
I want
Amazing.
some con.
It's good to hear from you, Jake.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Jake the Snake.
Should we see if
Ah,
maybe
Snake!
anyone
I'm sorry.
else?
I had you guys on mute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sounded pretty quiet. I was like,
He
It
said that
probably
last
wasn't
time.
important,
What?
but
yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
So
I think you
funny.
muted us
well, I
once before.
should probably
You're gonna hit the
Get
dusty trail.
going.
You
gonna
should
hit the
probably
dusty
hit
trail?
that mute button one more time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
Probably just-
we'll talk to
We
you
love
later,
you,
Jake.
buddy.
Love you, dude.
You're the best.
Be well. Be safe. Take care.
Bye, Snake.
So cool. Wishing him the best out in LA. Oh man, it's crazy times.
Oh yeah.
I was in Atlanta working before now. Now I'm here. It's like I said at the top, it's like we're all on this trajectory, and then here we are, and then now we're here completely somewhere.
Right.
Where I've been a conspiracy theorist for a long time, and I've never even thought about this scenario, which means I've not been a very good conspiracy theorist.
Okay, let's go down.
Posing, bro.
Let's go down.
I'm just disappointed in myself, to be honest.
Let's go down conspiracy theory lane. Fully acknowledging these are conspiracy theories that, you know,
We're not going to be shamed.
we aren't going to be ashamed. We don't ascribe to them. We're just entertaining the ideas. But I had an idea that was like, well, this is a very maybe convenient way for, you know, this idea, the monolithic, like, one world government, or like, really it's like the lack thereof, right? A way to defang local governments altogether, government altogether, right? It's already kind of been on the rocks.
Right.
And the funding has been like stingier and stingier, and it's just like in austerity, the age of austerity, and now it's just like, well, in fact, you just can't do that. You can't run anything anymore. And it's like, if this were to somehow just continue indefinitely, well, I guess governments would always get funded. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I've been thinking about like how people justify the conspiracies that are out there.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to justify conspiracy. One thing that's interesting about us as human beings, as people, is that we want to be right more than anything else. And we can't help it. That's just, you know, we want to be right. We want to be proven right. And we'll even go to the extreme of proving ourselves right. And so that's where like this quantum idea comes in and that kind of stuff, which is interesting.
What is the quantum idea?
Well, basically that there's evidence for any theory, basically, and you can find it. And because you're looking for it, you see it, right? It's almost confirmation bias. And you can use it to your advantage or to your detriment, right? Like your body is a physiological system. You can allow your body to panic, and that's just going to put you on a more and more difficult life track. Or you can, you know, try and be calm and relaxed, and you'll make better decisions overall, you know? Just that basic knowledge right there. But in any of these, you know, situations that we've ever found ourselves in, I don't think that there's ever been less power taken by the federal government or the more centralized government. The fear from my angle is like power being consolidated into smaller and smaller hands. That's the problem. If absolute power corrupts absolutely, then it should be spread out.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, so I've heard tons of different conspiracy theories, but that's just my personal opinion. I think civil liberties are very important. You know, that's just me. That's just me throwing my own agenda in there.
You familiar with the idea of inverted totalitarianism?
Inverted totalitarianism.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you should check it out. I think it has I subscribe to this kind of description of the power paradigm more than most. I forget the guy's name, something with a W, but essentially it's the idea that power isn't going to be... So totalitarianism is when the state assumes like all power, and it's just the totality of it. But what's been going on probably since like the neoliberal project began around like the Reagan era is that power is being stripped from that center of power, and it's kind of it's like the inverse of totalitarianism, where it's so diffuse and it's in different like pockets. Essentially, I mean, I think it's kind of being shifted from state power into like market power, if that's such a thing, where people get wealthier and wealthier and the state gets weaker and weaker. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting idea. So it's like, it's not that like the people who are in power, like, we're fucking in power and in your face, like, you love us, you love us. And it's like, no, you don't know who we are. We're in the shadows. We're in the corners. You don't even know who we are. Everything that we do goes under the radar. And it's in these very diffuse, like, kind of bounced off trajectories so that it's not obvious where it's coming from.
Well, is that like that's okay, so that's a conspiracy theory then.
Well, it's not really a conspiracy
because like
theory.
you don't want to be known, right? Like they kings realized a few hundred years ago at minimum that if they were openly the ones who had power, then they're the ones whose heads were going to be chopped off.
Right.
And so you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the figurehead, you know. You want to be.
They used to have more prestige, though.
You want to be behind the scenes. You want to be in the shadows. You want to be like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, people who own the banking systems. And like as far as like consolidating power to a more one world government, I mean, I can see how that could easily shift. There are people on this I can't even believe. There are people openly calling for martial law. Like, I don't like that word.
Yeah,
I don't like the sound of that. That's not a good idea, guys.
No,
you know?
right.
I don't, and I get it. Like, there's people on the left who are like, Trump fucked this up. Yes, he fucked this up, but like, you're crying for tyranny from a dude that you don't trust. How does that make any sense?
Right.
In any, you know, so but like I've heard, so we can go crazy into the conspiracy camp because like I've heard, you know, if this was like, because I guess what is the mantra? It's from people.
Right.
Like more civil liberties,
Or to gain more rights,
to gain more power for yourself,
for your own,
and use the tool of government, you know, to dominate. So you
likely, if history is any lesson, and everyone else will kind of just get screwed, and it's like, oh no, we need to bail out the big businesses because then they're going to pay the employees. It's like, are they? Are they they're going to use all that money to keep all their employees well, and some of them might, and.
Well, you have to.
Well, I mean, most of them just took golden parachute bail money and in their own personal names and just left the company and bankrupted the company, you know, in 2008 during the crash. Like, that's what, you know, the people at Bear Stearns and Goldman Sachs and all these different places were just golden parachuting out of their windows, just taking huge bonuses and not paying any of the people, just firing everybody else, you know, and somehow, and you know, there's already people who have gotten rich off of this whole coronavirus thing. There are people who are definitely involved in insider trading. If you just look at them, like, look at what they bought and sold in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
you know?
so like Kelly Loeffler, right? So have you heard about this?
What's that?
So familiar with? So Kelly Loeffler is a senator from Georgia, appointed by Donald Trump, right after, was it Isaacson who left?
Johnny Isaacson.
Yeah, and so she is been implicated in some insider trading. She was at a congressional hearing, and they gave her news like, shit's about to hit the fan, and then she immediately sold off like millions of dollars of stocks, along with a couple other people who were in the hearing. And so I'm reading into this, and her husband comes up, and guess who her husband is? His name is Jeffrey Sprecher. You ever hear of that guy? No, you probably haven't. Who is Jeffrey Sprecher? He's, I'll read from Wikipedia, an American businessman and the founder, chairman, and CEO of Intercontinental Exchange. Okay. And chairman of the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, wow.
And what is Intercontinental Exchange? It is the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange.
Right.
And it's based in Atlanta. This dude is the chairman and CEO of the New York Stock Exchange, which manages about $30 trillion in assets, has about $2.9 billion in revenue, and most of that's profit. And his wife just, committed some insider trading. This is like, come on, guys. This is just so typical. It's just typical.
It's incredibly corrupt, and that's the sad thing about it. And you want to yell about it and get upset. Or I do sometimes. Right. And then, but nobody wants to hear that too, It's like nobody wants to. admit it, but it's going on. There's a lot of corruption going on, and I think that we need to take as much of our own personal rights back as we possibly can, and take as much action and talk and reach out together as much as we possibly can, just to be like, look, because I think it's really important to the democratic process is important. And there's tons of different philosophies and ideas about politics and structures, and we can talk about that at some point. But it's just it's just crazy to see so many people taking advantage of a situation like this, and it happens every single time. That's what people who are in the know can't wait for, is the next issue like this, so they can get rich and they'll be buying stuff for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, so should we I mean, I can talk about this all day because there's a lot to talk about. Should we continue down this path, this crisis, more in general, or should we zero in more on like what this means for comedy, specifically comedy in Athens, and kind of what we're doing? What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I don't want to be a total bummer here.
I mean, yeah, no,
talk about all these crazy conspiracy theories. I've read a lot of books. I could talk about it for a long time too.
Yeah. But that's why maybe the listeners should tune in to the National Conspirator.
Absolutely, they should.
Where we can get in, to that a little bit more luxuriously and whimsically tomorrow. Yeah,
we'll be doing a National Conspirator tomorrow evening about UFOs, actually.
Yeah.
We've done one on cryptids, and we did one about the snake virus.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if we should just go more in depth into like insider trading or something that's like topical to like what's going on, like hoarding, or there's so many very topical things.
There are a lot. I'm excited about the potential of this show because it's just really fun to do and be a part of, and there's a lot to talk about. I mean, there's just no shortage of premises.
Yeah,
I like the topical stuff. We can, who knows? It's going to be a surprise topic tomorrow.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
Where are you going to be?
Yeah.
Got to tune in.
Follow us on the Flying Squid Comedy. That's where we're at right now. All the stuff that was Krakin Jokes and still is Krakin Jokes once we get to the point where we can do. And who knows? Maybe we'll do like a live Krakin Jokes sort of thing at some point. I mean, why not?
Maybe a dead Krakin Jokes.
Everybody waits in their car and they come into my house for like 5 minutes and leave.
Yeah, like
then the next comic comes in.
Stand out in the yard looking through the window.
There's a procession of people that are 6 feet apart. They hold a rope that has a knot, which is 6 feet.
That's right.
Apart, and
just 8 people up front. Switch them out.
Yeah. So Owen brought up an interesting premise earlier. Who's like, what if stand-up comedy as an art form just never returns? It's like,
that's it.
We can't congregate in the same way that we used to. Like, is it worth pursuing stand-up as an art form?
Right. Just.
I think the world is going to be a lot different after this. I think just the way that we interact together, there's less touching. There's going to be, people are grossed out by each other now.
There's a lot of caution.
It's just, Christine, are you still there?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think stand-up comedy is going to be what it used to be, or even close, or an art form worth pursuing?
Comedy is just like the most accessible form of comedy for people to host and do pop-up shows of and open mics of. So I feel like from a local standpoint, and of course there's always going to be people watching more popular comics on TV and stuff like that. So I think it's still going to be a thing, but I think maybe people might explore other channels like we are here and just try to see what else is out there, but I can't really say that other people will do that. People love their stand-up.
Yeah,
that is true.
But what if so I've heard, let's just constrain this hypothetical to like a year, because what I've heard from some reports, you hear so many different sets of information.
Yeah.
Death rate of the virus is between 1% and 2%, up to 5%, up to 10 or 15%.
Really? 10 to 15.
Depending on how you crunch the numbers, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And same with the shelter in place mandate and recommendation. Okay, let's see. We've got a caller in here. Let's see who's calling. Oh, well, if it ain't the snake. Hey, hello.
Hello?
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 You're on the air, caller. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
We're just talking about the current state of things.
Are you Jake Ward's cold-ridden brother?
I don't know him. My name is Reginald D. Frown.
Reginald? What a name.
Did you say D. Brown?
Yeah, D. My middle name is Dennis.
Dennis.
Reginald Dennis Brown. Welcome to the show, Reginald.
RDB.
It's Frown. Please get my name right.
I'm sorry.
RDF.
We're turning up your input right now.
RDF.
RDF. Thank you for your call.
Thank you for
Do you have
my call.
a question, Reginald, or something that you'd like to contribute to what we were talking about?
Well, you're talking about the future of stand-up comedy.
That's right.
And I think perhaps the best stand-up comedian is probably Ray Romano.
Okay. Ray Romano is an excellent stand-up comic.
I think that's the future of stand-up comedy. It's going to be in reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay.
Wow.
Now we're going to have to talk. We are going to have to...
I'm here to talk, and
Okay.
I am not going to take no for an answer.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well,
Rare.
Ray Romano is a great
Who-
stand-up comic, but that show, that's not the future of
Who's a
stand-up comedy.
popular comedian that you people are listening to?
Sinbad? No,
I love Sinbad.
I mean,
I love Sinbad. Sometimes his humor gets a little too blue for me, though.
I like Sinbad too. You know, Sinbad doesn't write his sets. He just goes up there in free forms.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. You listen to him on the Good Ones podcast. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah,
So remember that Sinbad movie,
I-
Shazam?
was that Sinbad or
that's
Shaq?
That's Shaq.
God damn it!
Shaq Fu.
That was
Kid, and
Shaquille O'Neal.
ever
Yeah.
since
Don't try to pull a
since-
fast one on me. Shaquille O'Neal, he
Shazam.
knows Kung Fu,
Can you guys
but he
believe
does not
that
know stand-up comedy.
Shaq died in a helicopter accident?
Was that Shaq?
That shit was crazy.
What?
What?
The Mandela effect is everywhere. That is crazy. That's some crazy Mandelas. I mean,
Nelson Mandela did not do stand-up comedy. You're getting off topic here.
yeah, I mean, do you think that stand-up comedy is going to be the same, Reginald?
Oh, yeah.
You think so? You think it's an art form worth pursuing, or do you think that the world is just completely going to change now after this?
Oh, no. I think people are going to need to laugh. And I think Everybody Loves Raymond is going to be the perfect outlet for that laughter.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Ray Romano.
I like that. I think that's a very optimistic view.
Cool. Well, thank you, Reginald, for
Thanks for
weighing
weighing
in.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and if you'd like to weigh in on the conversation, our number is 575-322-8733.
Yep. Or 5753 cat pee.
Yeah.
If you have one of those phones that has the numbers on it,
Yeah, the letters.
like nobody has it. Well, I guess if you open up your phone, it might.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny. Like I would love it if somebody was calling from a rotary phone, right?
Yeah. But so back to this idea of, I've heard that a year of shelter in place, self-isolation, social distancing might be a more realistic estimate for addressing the COVID crisis, right? And so what is stand-up comedy going to do for a year? For a year what's a stand-up comedy club going to do, right? So we can talk about it in the abstract of like an art form,
Right.
and that it's like that'll continue to exist most likely. Like people are still doing curling and shit, like that shouldn't exist ever, but it still does.
Christine, is
Damn.
curling a sport, do you think? Curling is a sport, Christine.
I know that it is, but I'm still confused by it.
No, I'm sorry. No, it's funny.
It's like big shuffleboard or something.
It is.
Big
It's ice shuffleboard. Yeah.
It's Canadian shuffleboard.
Is that the origin? Was that the
Icy
origin of it?
shuffleboard.
I don't know what the origin. They probably just got drunk, got out on the lake, and started pushing stuff around with their rakes,
Right.
waiting for spring.
Sticks,
Yep.
rakes. Yeah.
Seems right.
But what do you think?
After
I
hockey
mean,
got canceled.
Curling.
So there are dozens of comedy clubs throughout this country that rely on stand-up comedians coming in to make their ends meet. People's jobs depend on these comedians coming through, these comics coming through.
Yeah.
What do they do if it's a year of a responsible, like, we're gonna minimize deaths at all costs?
Right.
Well, back to the conspiracy thing.
Yeah.
When has a government ever given a shit about people's lives? You know, like they care about other things, but I think we care about people's lives. But I think that's just in the numbers from a government's perspective. Like none of these other pandemics, you know, like we're really taking that seriously ever. And that we still don't know. I get that.
Well,
But-
I think. Oh, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, still, like, how do we treat HIV? How do we treat AIDS? Even the last couple have been worse than advertised. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I know we're not through this yet, so
No.
so don't But at the same time, it's just like
but everyone's in the same boat.
the
I
government
think.
just wants more and
Right.
more power.
But they're
and here-
people, infectable people too, right?
Yeah, and then this thing is going to kill, up to, let's say, like worst case scenario, 10 or 15%. That's a lot. That's really bad if that's true. Who knows though?
Of what?
'Cause all
Just
of the people
infected?
who get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I think the 10 to 15%, for the record, is very high.
It's very
Yeah,
high.
it's
It's
very
very high. That's what I'm
high.
saying. Like worst
Right.
Yeah.
case scenario.
This is when
Right.
there wasn't as much data. There's a little bit more data.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
seems like we're not going into, being able to avoid this, but trying to figure out how to manage it
Yeah.
at this point.
Right.
Like it
Absolutely.
doesn't seem like we're gonna do very well on getting ahead of it.
Well, a lot of it. I mean, as far as like preventative care, is the big issue to give us time to try to get in front of it, at least to some degree. Not many steps ahead, but because it's on a bell curve. Like we're coming into the peak of it all, and then it's going to decline a little bit during the summer, and then flu season's right around the corner.
Yeah. And that's going to be weird. People it's going to be confused. Think about all the people who are like hypochondriacs too, who are going to think they have it.
Right.
And that's just going to clog up the system. Even and it's just, but I mean, most people, they get sick, you stay home, I guess, and you just try to get over it because it seems like it's for the most part, manageable, conquerable
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
For me, I think it would be, which is why I've gone out,
Right.
and I haven't done anything to put anybody else in danger, but I'm also not, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not just sitting at home, not going out.
Right.
Because, I don't know.
It's
not worth it to me.
Yeah. So,
Right.
so here's my grand proposition for the whole situation, which is that this is a moment and an opportunity. Again, no crisis wasted for anybody, right? Because we have the system is jolted. It is manipulatable, and it's an opportunity to renegotiate the social contract at large, because it's been pretty fucked for a long time. I think we can all step back and recognize that by the way that we were ill prepared for this, and it's like, well, that sounds, well, we didn't know this was coming, right? But we were ill prepared for it in many ways that we just disregarded humanity in terms of our investments as a society,
Right.
you know, and like the fact, like, and I've talked to, like, okay, so we're gonna try to save, say maybe 2 million is like the grand total in America, worst case scenario. Well, like 1 million people died in the Iraq War, for instance,
Right.
and that's a conservative estimate. You know, so it's like, we know that war does that. Like, why don't we stop that shit and stop all of this other, like, kind of militarism and stuff that we know for a fact that is killing people. Like, why how does it take so long for humanity to be recognized? It's like, I think my theory is that these people who run the country, who have all the power, they're just as susceptible, and they're freaked out because they're like, fuck, I'm gonna have to deal with my mortality, and I don't want to because my ego is enormous. And I mean,
Well, I think they've been freaked out for a while. I mean, people have been taking psychedelics and asking questions and, you know, engaging in free thought since the internet more than ever. You saw how the Epstein thing was handled. That's the sloppiest thing I've ever seen.
yeah,
And, you know, here's the fucking crazy thing about it. And you'll hear Tim Dillon talk about this, and probably some people don't like him, but I think he's so funny. But it's like, look, we came to this conclusion about this pedophile thing, you know. For me, it was like 7 years of doing conspiracy theory research. I can't imagine walking right into that and seeing this Jeffrey Epstein thing. It would break your brain because it's like, it doesn't, there was no like breadcrumb trail for the, you know, like you just walk right into that. And that's some heavy shit, and it sucks. But it's like, what is going on here? Why are people like collectively gathering and trying to form a tiny power structure? What are they hiding? What is going on? And then you have something like that happen, and it's so overt and in your face and clearly not handled.
So you're
Well.
you're of the mind of, and I feel like a lot of, like, I entertain a lot of quote unquote conspiracy theories because
Well, we're talking conspiracy theories here.
because as Howard Zinn, you know, author of A People's History of the United States of America, would say, all of history, if you define conspiracy as a group of people getting together behind closed doors and making decisions that nobody else knows about, then all of history is
It's
a conspiracy.
Of course it is, yeah.
And
Well, if
so,
you read, you know, Tragedy and Hope, that's Carol Quigley's book that is compiled. He's a Harvard history professor, and he talks about the, you know, the entire, like, Anglo-American establishment, and he gives the entire historical account of all these different, the Council on Foreign Relations, you know, all of these different entities that are part of the United States government. And then, you know, basically the re-infiltration of this country from like the bankers of England and Europe and Germany and all that. Whatever that group of people is, who knows? Basically reestablishing their control. And then you've got, you know, JFK happening in the 60s, you know, again from the conspiracy.
yeah, that's one that I definitely
You know.
believe was a foul.
Well, yeah, and even before that, you had some really interesting things happen. Like they tried to hire this guy named General Smedley Butler to take out FDR, you know, and he wouldn't do it. He wound up writing a book called War is a Racket.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. And then you go look at MK Ultra and, you know, the Gulf of Tonkin and all of these other, you know, big events where you can look at the actual record that's been released now and see that it wasn't what the official story was. And, you know, like you extrapolate that and
or
say,
like the Powell Memorandum, I think it's like 1973, that it was this official document through, maybe it's, I don't know if it's the State Department, but it's like, people are essentially overeducated. We need to cut back on the education of people because they're questioning a lot. I mean, now granted, this is a time of paranoia for both, you know, the lay citizen and the government. I think the government was much more paranoid during that time. But since then, they've really shadowed off a lot of their actions. Like, you ask any given American, like, are we at war? They're like, no, we aren't at war. We're actively in like 5 or 6 wars at any given time.
Yeah.
You know, with no congressional authorization. It's
Yeah.
just it's an executive action, which is mind-boggling. So it's like, you know,
That's not valuing human life.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's what I mean as far as like, it's wild for me to say, well, no government has ever cared about. But look at what happened over in Cambodia with Pol Pot. Nobody gave a fuck. This guy's just killing people left and right. Nobody stepped in to do anything. That's usually a justification move. And it usually involves war, which also involves lives and people dying. And I'm not a fan of that. That's not cool. There's no reason for that. You know, so I 100% agree with that. There's no reason to be, you know, going to war with any. We've been at war since 1990, like one. You know, like most of my entire life, this country's been at war.
yeah.
And that doesn't, you know, sit well.
So in your so you talk about, like, do you believe in, I guess, like a small circle of like the powerful who kind of I don't know if you would use the term Illuminati, but like,
I don't know. I think there's plenty of terms.
the equivalent of like,
There's like the Fabian Society, there's the Illuminati, there's like all of these different organizations that who knows, you know, people have their speculations about, and I don't really know. I haven't made my mind up as far as that goes. Rockefeller and Rothschild, though, I can promise you those two families are very, very high up on the totem pole.
Yeah.
And then you've got, you know, the Morgans and the Chase. You know, there's a lot of families that are pretty well known, and then you can go super deep into conspiracy and be like, well, are they part of the lizard reptilian elite?
Right.
You know, and then what family bloodlines and all of that. I mean, there's a whole ball of wax down there.
Yeah.
It can be a lot of fun. It can be not very much fun, you know.
Yeah, that's why, like,
But I don't think that I don't think we were getting told the full story.
no, I don't think we
know.
ever are, and at the very least, that's what, you know, I believe in, is that we aren't getting the full story. There's always propaganda. There's always a filter, but I think power is diffused. It's like this inverted totalitarian idea where there are just pockets of power, right? It's not just a centralized pocket of power. That would be the government, but that's been sucked of its efficacy, its teeth removed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's people who I think there probably is a couple of pockets. I think there are less and less pockets. That's what's happening in Game of Thrones, right? Like, you got your crew over here, and then that crew over there, and then that one keeps getting smaller. Yours keeps getting smaller. There's another one over here. They keep getting smaller. And ultimately, like, it's vying. And that's what's interesting. That's what I don't understand about it. Because if it was just one group of people who had, like, all the power, then it would already be a one world sort of thing. It would be super centralized. I think that's basically what's happening, is people are jockeying for that somehow or another. I don't know. I mean, maybe. And at the same time, there are ideas that are bigger than people too. So I think there's a lot of unintended consequences with this stuff too. So take the Green Revolution, for instance. From the conspiracy mind, it was intentional, and they did this to us and they poisoned us. From another mind, which is probably closer to the truth, people were trying to do something and feed the world. And it seemed like a really good opportunity, and people took advantage of it, and it got out of hand. And then it became this thing that killed people.
Yep.
And so I think that's more likely what
Collateral
happens.
damage, not intentional.
Not intentional.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's more likely what happens. But if you have a systems mind, like somebody like Herbert Hoover had, you know, or like anybody who's ever been a part of the CIA or the FBI has, you know, and they understand systems and momentum and how ideas are like viruses in society.
No,
very
for sure.
much.
Yeah,
you know?
Douglas Rushkoff. I think he was the guy who coined the idea of going viral.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering about that the other day. That's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
Because me and my friend Paul were talking, and I was like, where did that term even come from? Going viral, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, I think Douglas Rushkoff, not too long ago. Well, I mean, I guess the internet's only been around for so long, but one of my favorite authors for sure.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we have to be smart and be safe, but it's always important to watch people who are in power. Don't be snatching more rights.
Hold them accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to have our rights here.
Lop their heads off occasionally.
Let's not do this martial law thing, guys. That's not. I don't think we need to do that. Let's not do that, please. Please, God. Do you know what the White Rose was?
No.
So the White Rose was the party that opposed Hitler in Germany.
Sound like a bunch of queers.
Yeah.
And I use that term in the most endearing pre-1999 term.
Well, regardless, they got their heads chopped off. So
Like literally?
tougher.
I feel like that's a classic move.
Isn't it classic?
They could have just shot them, but they cut their heads off.
Could have boiled them in soup.
Gotta send a message.
Yeah. It's like, this head, you're using it? No, not anymore.
It's for show.
But as far as power systems go, dude, 1300s, 1400s, 1500s.
Right.
Utopia Book 1, man. It's a crazy book where he says, make criminals out of your people and then punish them for their crimes. This is a good way to rule. Machiavelli. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of years people have been controlling people.
Well,
So, just saying.
Yeah.
So that's not a conspiracy. That's history.
Yeah.
That's not, So
Right.
systems of control, methods of control. I heard this kid at an open mic be like, well, communism won't work because we won't let it. He's like, if somebody comes over and knocks the government down or whatever. And I thought it was hilarious. I was dying laughing. And it made me think on the way home. I was like, that's an interesting point, But yeah, no, it works. It works. Look at China, it works. All of these systems of control work. They're just different systems of control. That's all it is. And so we rah one side and rah the other side.
Right.
It's like this Democrat Republic. Dude, if you're living in that world, this two-party paradigm world right now, I just don't think.
It tilts.
I don't think you're anywhere close to reality.
Right.
Just it's crazy. What kind of crazy fucking world do we live in? Where Trump is fucked up as bad as he has, and he's still probably gonna win. I mean, what happened to Joe Biden? Where is that guy at? Didn't he? Is he around or? Is he sick?
What happened? What happened to Joe?
It's crazy, man.
Where's Joe?
I mean,
It's more about feeling the burn,
yeah,
apparently.
yeah. I know a lot of people. Well, yeah, I know a lot of people really like Bernie. I like Bernie.
I like Bernie.
Bernie. Feel the burn, man.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. He got so screwed the last time,
Right.
Yeah.
and that was so telling to me. That was just so like,
Yeah, and I think they're trying to screw him now. I think that within every establishment, there's a conspiracy and there are cabals constantly. That's
Yeah,
history,
that
right?
it is
Oh,
history,
yeah, there's
dude.
always someone
Absolutely.
working
That's
on-
what it. That's exactly
There's
right. yeah.
always a group of people working
Yeah.
towards trying to take the power.
There are
And-
and change the history.
Yeah, and I think the DNC's horse is Biden, obviously, has been from the get-go. And whoever is within that network, that system, if you will, yeah, and it's just plain as day. But I don't know, yeah. But it's so that's the kind of the paranoid, like there's two whys, right? There's the intentional why, and then there's the explanatory why, right? The intentional why starts at the beginning of a time sequence. It says like, well, why did you do that, Jared? Like, why did you drop that plate on the floor? So like, I meant to do that. I saw this plate, fuck you plate. The explanatory why is coming from post event. It's like, well, why did that thing happen? What was just the causal reality? No intention is involved. It's just motion. And I think that there's an explanatory why of like, which creates this illusion of an intentional conspiracy in any given realm. That's just like, well, it's habitus and field. This two Pierre Bourdieu ideas of like the people that are running the DNC and the people who run the media are in the same social and economic sphere, and they just have the same interests, and so their ideas align. They're like, well, no, we don't want Bernie because he's an iconoclast and he's trying to take our money and distribute the wealth to these poorer people. Like, of course we don't want that. No, nobody in our sphere.
Right. I mean, it's tricky because the United States is a capitalistic country. And
Yeah.
that's one of the advantages of capitalism is being able to make all that money. That's what it allows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is this, and this is why I would say negative things about a government, is that, what it allows is for people to use the government to make laws that are favorable for them.
Right.
It's like a monopoly is dangerous, but what's actually maybe more dangerous is a duopoly. Let's say you own two companies, and
Right.
or like the two-party system or whatever, even where you
right.
can just basically play one side against the other,
Right.
and then at that point you can just exploit things,
Other companies.
and make money, put yourself in a position where nobody can mess with you. Then you add a bunch of red tape, and then now it's hard for companies to be created and compete
Right.
in a free. It's not a laissez-faire, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
Right.
And maybe that's not the best either, but I think with that type of economy, I think there's more of a natural. Oh boy, I don't know how to answer this. I think there's more of a natural sway of things if you actually let things go their own way.
Right. Running.
But I mean, not to say like there's still people doing horrible things and taking advantage, but
Right.
that's the tool of the government. But
Right.
hey, so
Got a call.
I don't know how to answer. I'm trying. Oh, I missed it.
Caller, if you'd like to.
Hey, caller.
Give us a call back.
Sorry, caller. That was my fault, caller. We'd love it if you'd call back.
Christine, you still there?
Christine's gone.
Christine's
We
gone.
lost Christine. Caller. Call back.
That's right. I had to run to the John.
I'm going to have to do that as well.
Step away for 1 second.
I know.
All for our support.
Lil John.
So, somebody had called. I take it.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. I gotta beat
Caller, you are on the air. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Can you hear us?
Yes, much better. I wanted to hear more about the duopoly.
Yeah. So.
Are you there?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Sorry, we were just receiving another call that I had to put on hold. To the other caller,
okay.
if you want to call us back in a minute or leave us a voicemail. So yeah, I think Owen was talking about the duopoly. Whom are we speaking to?
This is Owen's mom. I couldn't resist. I was like, when he said duopoly, it was on for me. I had to call in and say, what are you talking about?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, Owen is in the restroom right now. But let's see.
Of course he is.
Hey, Owen, your mom's on the line. Yep. Awesome. You just got mommed, bro.
And yeah, Jake. Yeah, Jake. I believe Jake might have been calling unfortunately, yeah, my technical specs are a little bit whacked out for this this session.
Oh, I totally understand. I want to tell you, I've really, really enjoyed your live streams recently, and something that you said about how this is going to affect comedy. I think right now you're really at the cutting edge of some things that are going to change, and I think it, not to, beat an old horse or whatever, or dead horse or whatever, but I think the mother of invention is necessity. So you guys have an opportunity, to really kill it and come up with something very unique.
Like a dating call-in show? We did one of those earlier.
Yeah, that was a little tricky, I think. So, since you're back with us here, I want to know what a duopoly is.
It's like a monopoly, except there's two companies, and so you have one other option.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, think about all our utilities. I mean, come on.
Okay. Well, I have one thought, and then I'm going to hang up. But my thought is,
you didn't like the dating show?
There's more to this. Say again?
You didn't like the dating show?
No, wasn't my cup of tea, but you know me. I mean, I'm not into all that.
Yeah, we should talk
kind of thing,
more.
Yeah,
we should have gone.
I'm pretty straight-laced when it comes to stuff like that.
Right on.
But I do want to say one thing about all the stuff that's going on with the coronavirus stuff. I think there's more to it than meets the eye, but I think they're assuming we're stupid, and what we don't want to do is prove them right. So whatever that means to everybody, that's my wisdom for the night.
No, I think that's true. I mean, I think self-reliance and that type of spirit is a good thing. I think that's what we need to try and remember. Those are the good things about being American, and not everything about being American is good, but I think those two things are, not, and just like, and taking responsibility for ourselves as much as we possibly can, and being strong together. Like, people were strong after 9/11, and hopefully we can be strong after this too and help each other out. But yeah.
And I think too, if there is such a thing as stand-up comedy after this is all over with, I think it will be less politically correct. I think this is going to make some people pretty angry, the whole situation that we're in right now. And I think when we come out of this, it's going to be expressed in a lot of different ways, through different mediums. But in comedy specifically, it's going to be no holds barred. You're going to be able to say whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want.
I have the
because people are going to be ready.
Worry about the whole situation is that it's going to have an even greater chilling effect. So I mean, the thing is, right now, people were self-isolated for good reason, I believe, but everyone is very complacent with it. I was not totally complacent with the idea, because I'm like, I need to see the data first before I agree to this idea. I'm not just gonna accept the buzzwords, taglines. Like, I need to see the scientific data. But I think people are getting conditioned to be more silenced and more separated and more politically correct, because they're like, you remember that time that being quiet and sitting in our house meant people's lives were on the line? Well, when you're calling that person X, Y, or Z, like, maybe somebody else's life is on the line. And so my fear is that they're going to double down on the PC censorship. But I hope that you're right.
Well, I think everything is going to... The danger here is that everything becomes more trackable. And that's what I mean about losing rights, If if what they say is true about people trying to pass the anti-encryption sort of thing so that data is easier to gather via our conversations. You know, that's the kind of thing that I mean that we need to oppose, you know, as human beings, you know, freedom of information, freedom of speech. Those things are very important. People, I don't think really value it like they should.
Don't know what you got until it's gone.
Yeah. It seems like it seems like a laughable idea until it's gone, and you know, there's just a lot of just nasty ideas.
Each of you have a voice here, and this is really.
But I don't think stand-up
right
comedy is going to be the same. It's
of
not.
Your generation, and I think what's important to know is you have a voice, you have a platform, and you have an opportunity. You know, you're represented well. Christine's a sharp girl, and you've got a cross section of culture that's part of your group or your cult, as you called it earlier with Jake. But you have the platform to express, and I think you should definitely take advantage of that. And I've really enjoyed it. And it's not just because Owen's involved, but a lot of it is because he's involved. But for me, I've really enjoyed all of you and what you bring to comedy and watching it blossom and grow, and just really been interesting to watch. So I want to thank you, and I'll go now.
Oh, Rihanna, thank you so much for calling. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. Love you, Mom. I'll be over here with my germs. I know you're over there doing your thing. You're the best.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's a dream come true. Everybody wishes their mom would call in, I think.
Everyone wants to be mommed.
Everybody wants to be mommed.
That's true.
Don't you need somebody to mom? No, it's awesome. I don't know what platform we have, but I think that encouraging people to think for themselves and be, you know, forthcoming and you know, not be judged or shamed because of their ideas is probably a good place to start.
Right.
Which is why I'm happy to be the wacko that just throws out whatever crazy conspiracy ideas, because there's a lot of them, and I went into a crazy vacuum of them, and they're kind of fun. They kind of are fun. Some of them are depressing too.
Right.
But it's interesting.
Dig it in.
I mean, yeah, like, this isn't a historic time to be alive. I don't know if that matters, if that's worth anything.
Well, it's still not as bad as it has been.
Sure.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
That's exactly right.
You know,
imagine,
right,
you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and then it's overt.
Right.
People's heads are getting chopped off.
Well, but I mean, just as far as how bad this could be, you know, we could just be all just getting knocked out left and right.
Yeah.
You know, I think the response as far as, like, you know, preventative care, I think has been, you know, yeah, it can always be better, but it definitely could be a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
At least we not forget that.
That's true. Yeah, it just sneaks up. There's none. You have
Yeah.
no warning. It's just
Right. I mean, that's like, you know,
that's a nightmare
uncommon.
scenario.
Right.
And I haven't even watched any of these like outbreak movies. It's so funny, like, because as a conspiracy, you know, theorist, and especially more so in the past, you know.
Right.
But I mean, I'll entertain all of them. One of them is that they want to put everybody in so they can build a 5G network.
I've heard
Have
some
you
people
heard that
talking
one?
about that. Yeah.
Well, I've heard, I stumbled upon the theory that 5G causes the coronavirus.
Well,
I
yeah,
heard someone talking about that too.
I've heard that too. I've heard that
one as
Wuhan
well.
is a place where they've been trying 5G out as well.
Oh.
I know there's a lot of peer-reviewed stuff about the dangers of the radiation 5G. I
Right.
know that's true. I don't know if it's as weaponized as what a lot of people are talking about.
Right.
But, you know, being on a grid, It's like putting yourself in a house that's a smart house. I don't understand why. I don't know. It's cool in a way, but at the same time, it's like, man, you're giving a lot of information over.
Right.
Yeah, right. You're just asking for people to spy on you.
Yeah.
In fact, you're getting paid for them to spy on you.
You're actually paying for them to spy on you.
And then you're paying for
Both.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, so like with most Google things, I love Google because it has the best interface and access to everything and so on and so forth, but it all comes at the cost of my information. And I'm like, well, okay. I guess that's I don't know what my information is worth. Nobody knows what their information is worth.
Right.
Like, there's $1 value on your phone number. That's crazy.
There's a conspiracy theory that there's $1 value on your birth certificate number too, and that's traded openly on the New York Stock Exchange. I don't know if you've heard that one.
That it's on Jeffrey Specker's
you can take
New York Stock Exchange?
You can take the number on your birth certificate and look that up on the New York Stock Exchange, and it will have a figure attached to it.
All right, I'm gonna look. $3? You gotta be kidding me.
$3.50.
That's pretty high. I'm gonna.
Yeah, dude. See what you can get. Some glass of orange juice or.
OJ, the juice, man.
Yeah, I mean, of course you guys know the flat Earth one, right?
That's been making it. It's made a comeback.
Earth is flat.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it. Yeah. I think it's not.
Right.
I feel like we've got pretty good.
Right.
I mean, dude, but don't get me wrong. Like, I like that people are still asking questions. I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think people should be shamed for asking questions.
No, I don't think they should. But I think they should also be receptive to the answers when they're good answers. And it's like, you see that curve on the horizon? You see, this. You ever been in a plane? It's you gotta be receptive to information. It's like an improv. It's like, there's nothing wrong with a bad offer, and somebody who's there are people who make great offers, but then if the same person can't listen, they aren't a very fun person to improvise with, because you make an offer and they don't listen to you. They're just steamrolling, right? And these people are just steamrolling through their mind. They're saying, well, again, they just want to be right, but why ascribe to being right about something that's stupid and patently
I don't know,
wrong?
but we do that.
Yeah.
We will literally suffer. Back to that original point. We want to be right so much that we'll live a life of sadness in order to be right.
Yes.
We absolutely do that. People do that all the time.
Yep. Talk to my ex-girlfriend.
right. Well, I mean, but whatever that story is, I've got to go to work 80 hours a week.
Right.
Or, what it doesn't matter. It can be any story at all, and we tell ourselves that, and we have to be right about. Well, my life is just, I just have a bad life. I have bad luck. Whatever that story is, man, you're gonna go out of your way to convince it to yourself. To convince yourself of it.
Right. The victim mentality.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even that. I mean, if you're a thoroughbred and you're like the ladies' man, then you're gonna go out of your way to convince yourself and prove that to yourself as well.
If I am, Owen.
Yeah. Well, when you are. But like whatever that is, we will go out of our way to do that. So that's kind of a weird trait, it's like, because you're saying, but there's evidence, there's good reason, and maybe you can even feel happier and have a better life if you believed something else.
Maybe it's like instinct versus something in the cerebral cortex that's like curiosity. Well, I don't know.
Well, I think there's a lot to it. If you look into multiple family systems, which sounds a little weird, but like there are parts of you that are basically there's like a protector part of you, there's a part of you that is courageous and etc. Like you have multiple characteristics in your personality. Shit.
Oh, is it
Yeah.
All right, hold on a second.
Yeah, I sound real smart on the radio.
That was Owen's one of his family members taking over. So multiple family systems. It's this idea that there's like different systems in your brain, right?
Yeah.
It's that are. So yeah, like you might have a part that's like hunger driven, or a part that's like I mean, we definitely have these different layers of our brain that have formed over time, from like the reptilian brain, and there's the pineal gland, which actually has photoreceptive cells on it. It used to be we call it our third eye, but we theorize that it used to be another eye, right? Or like our only eye. Not a great eye, for what it's worth. But it would detect when it was light out and when it was dark out, and it has a particular predilection for the color blue, which is why it releases melatonin, or it stops releasing melatonin when you see the color blue. So like on a gray day, when you wake up late and you're just tired all day, it's because if you see blue light, if you get blue light, it's because your body's still dripping melatonin, which like keeps you sedate and asleep, that hormone, right? And so then you see the color blue, and it tells your pineal gland, your third eye, to stop doing that, stop dripping the melatonin. All that to say, different parts of our brain. But my question is the mind located in the brain? Like, one of my core ideas that I ascribe to in improv is this idea of get out of your head, and that the mind is not placed in the head. Our mind is not in our head. I kind of believe in the extended mind, which is that whatever we're interacting with. So I'm looking at Keaton right now.
Hello.
My mind extends to Keaton. It quite physically, literally extends to Keaton. It's not stuck in my brain. It's not in my. If I see a star, my mind is literally reaching out billions of light years to touch that star, get that sensory information. And so there's like a projection rather than a receptivity. It's not totally receptive. It goes both ways, and I don't know. So what do you guys think? Is the mind in the brain?
I don't think so. No, I don't think the mind's in the brain. I think the mind is generally the brain, but I refer to mind as conscious awareness.
Yeah.
And then I have also, I'd say, like, there's also the subconscious awareness, which is the heart. So I think that would be the part of you that is reaching out to the star. And then your conscious mind is interpreting that, as information. That's what the mind does. And I don't perceive the mind as the brain. That the brain is like the physical, it's like physical chemical factory kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I see a lot of the processes of the mind happening in the brain, but I think the mind is much bigger than your head. Yeah, your mind is your conscious awareness in all the esoteric teachings, and that's another weird thing that I've researched a lot about. But like if you look into basically any of the esoteric kind of things, it's heart and mind, or subconscious mind and conscious mind, that make up the whole of each person. So that's kind of how I see it.
Right.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about consciousness and unconsciousness, and that's the swing between them, where so you take physicalism, and and that our mind is our brain. Consciousness is rooted in the brain, and that at its core level, reality is just on a spectrum from unconsciousness to consciousness. Like when we become aware of, hey, there's this table here.
Right.
Okay, the table's then physical, what we would call physical, right?
Right.
And quantum mechanics kind of lends itself to. I mean, I think I'm grossly oversimplifying in a way, right? But this is like a different paradigm, counter to our current understanding of physics, which physics as a discipline has to grapple with because of just the data and the nature of quantum mechanics, where depending, you can either know the location or the speed of a particle, or maybe it's a photon is a particle, or maybe it's a wave, depending on if somebody is observing it. It's like, what? No, physical things shouldn't be changing whether their physicality based on observation, because that's totally subjective. That's
Right.
qualitative, but they are.
Right.
Yeah, it's confusing. I like to think that there's like a baseline, a basic objective reality, which is based on law, physical law, and then there are subjective realities that are built upon that foundation that everyone's kind of contributing to and that we're all a part of.
Right. From this space.
There are some really bad philosophies in the self-help movement and New Age movement right now, like solipsism and
self-transformation, I think, is the new branding term.
Oh, is that what it's called now?
Yeah, I don't think it's the New Age movement. No, it's the self-transformation movement.
Says the guy who knows, who works in the bookstore.
I do.
Okay. Cool.
Who used to be in the movies and music section.
That's it.
Regrettably, not anymore.
Not anymore.
It's the good old days.
I remember when.
Yeah.
I remember when.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's all changed. Everything
That's right.
changed so fucking quick. That's what's amazing about this. The most amazing.
Well, so this was before the change, before the.
Oh right, yeah.
I
mean, some of it, I guess, in its sense,
but it is.
Has led up to this. Yeah. What you were saying about the mind and the brain. Yeah, sorta. I think I'm under that. I don't know.
Persuasion.
Persuasion, yeah. That, I mean, it's more of a function. It's like what creates the mind. What elements of that exist, and our individuality. It is like the mind or the brain and the heart and the body and such like that. That creates the mind, I guess, is what. You know what I mean? As far as like, breaking it, I guess, condensing everything. So, yeah.
So you think the mind does reside, or is kind of emergent from the brain's functions, like the physical? Again, if we're going on a spectrum, we're always going on some sort of spectrum when
Right.
we're talking about consciousness, is like from the
Right.
physical up to we have abstract thoughts and think color and love and I'm horny or whatever.
Right.
That's my
Feelings.
favorite.
It's my favorite color, horny.
Favorite color is horny.
Horny is the
And
pink trail.
Oh, goddamn.
No, just I guess in the physical sense, it's like us as human beings, we can't experience the spiritual without the physical. And so in that, from that standpoint, what creates the mind is, all of it. As an individual, that's what gives you the functions of your, your brain, your heart. That is like, I think some would be like, that is what your soul is, but soul is actually just individual. It's really what it means.
I think you just gotta explore your inner butthole, and then that's where the secret lies for people out there. That's where you gotta start.
You're each individual.
You just gotta start there, dig deep, and like we were talking about in the podcast earlier, digging deep. It's important, and I don't know. We're gonna pull through and do a lot more comedy as a result of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does change the landscape. I mean, will stand-up comedy be a thing? I think yes. Again, it will.
Absolutely.
I don't think it will be in the next. That's like you said. It's going to take it a year to recover.
6 months to a year,
At the least.
right?
At the least.
And that's okay. I mean, stand-up comedy is one art form, one piece of comedy. There's a lot of different things that you can do in comedy, and comedy and funny aren't necessarily the same things either.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what's weird about it.
That's so
what is comedy?
What is comedy? I think is gonna maybe a darker variant of it.
The vessel has changed for the time being. We're in a holding pattern somewhat.
Yeah, and like so like I feel like even Hannah Gadsby's Nanette special was really like this water. I don't want to say watermark because that's a little bit cheesy, and it's not. I don't think it's a touchstone on like how tastes in comedy are changing. Where it's like, okay, I'm watching it, and I'm like, this isn't very funny.
Right.
And I like to watch comedy because it's funny.
Right.
And then we get to the end and we get this payoff that it's like, okay, this is just like a really fucking true, heartfelt, sad story that she's taken a lot of time to kind of pull the rug out from under us. And I watched it once. To be honest, I'll probably never watch it again because it was so sad, and I got the message right. But you know, maybe that sort of thing. Like if the world goes through a lot of, if this whole thing, you know, God forbid, you know, takes many lives, then there's going to be a lot of people who are needing to grapple with and treat that trauma. And I think comedy has always been a form of a therapeutic form of engagement, entertainment.
Just therapy in itself.
It's therapy, right?
It's
It's communal.
It's a way to
expression.
say outrageous things
It takes
too,
it takes
and
the edge
not
off.
feel shamed for it.
Takes the edge off reality. You know, it just
like one Krakin Jokes, this guy came up to me after the show and he says, man, I thank you so much for doing this. Like I just got back from my grandmother's funeral and I fucking needed this.
right.
You know? And as talking to Owen, that, you know, every time that something kind of tragic has happened in like my circle or like the circle of the Krakin Jokes folks,
Right.
we've always kind of doubled down on comedy because
Right.
it's like do we step away? When Kelly Smith, who was helping us organize the shows and produce it, he died just out of the blue, and
Right. I remember.
you know, it's like, Jesus, like do we do more shows? And it's like, well,
Is this
of
a
course.
sign?
Is this
right.
a sign?
Yeah. Give up. Just
Oh,
give
yeah.
up, man.
Yeah, but it's like, well, no, of course, yeah, we're just gonna make it better and better, and so that's, you know, but on from other people's perspective, it's like, I think it serves a real need, and that
Absolutely.
need is gonna be changing.
Right.
The emotional, like, landscape is changing.
Yeah, I mean, it serves a need for me. I mean, I have to perform in some way. Like, it's just, I have to
Right.
do it, you know? Like, what?
Right.
It could be stand-up or, you know, improv, but, you know, I've been fortunate to be able to do improv and stand-up and,
Right.
you know, and do music, you know, for a long
Right.
time. But I would have to do some sort of
Performance.
it, you know? I don't
Right.
know. I can't help it. It's like
Right.
it's like the itch that you have to scratch, you know? That's kind of how you know.
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, I'm happy to do whatever else as well to be able to do that.
Right.
Like work,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I just, it's impossible.
you know,
Not to, I would go crazy. I would just be bummed out because it's fun to play, you know?
Right.
You got to get out of your head.
Yeah.
I
Right.
agree with you,
Yeah.
you know,
Wherever your
Right.
head is.
wherever your head is. You know?
Exactly.
So we're going to keep this thing, you know, going, doing as much as we can. We got some live streaming equipment. Should be able to do video live streams coming up soon,
Yep.
which is pretty dope.
pretty cool stuff.
Maybe we'll be able to do some improv comedy in front of, but we'll try whatever. You know, write in and let us know what you think. There's a red and black people who may write some stuff up about us, which is cool or whatever. But
And for those of you listening abroad, that's a publication, not types of people. That's the red and the black.
That's right.
yeah,
Y'all coming
local
back.
newspaper.
The red people and the black people are calling me.
Hey,
I'm trying to write now.
we believe in diversity. But yeah, no. We're gonna be making National Conspirators. We'll do an episode tomorrow to be determined on what the subject will be, and we'll do some more other shows. Because stand-up comedy. Who knows? A year, 3 months. It won't be 1 month.
Who's to say? Who's to say?
It won't be 2 weeks. I don't think.
These are character building times.
I mean, it's
Acts of patience.
It's a time where
Patience, for sure.
you have to figure out what you can do,
Right.
And you guys got ideas, write them in. I'd love to hear,
Yeah, absolutely.
Please participate from a distance.
Yeah.
6 feet
From your
from 6.
isolation. Yeah. Thanks, guys. So we're gonna keep doing this kind of stuff. We're on a completely different path, and here we are. But we're happy to be here with you. Give us a call when we're going live. We're gonna be going live a lot. This is the end of the Flying Squid podcast that we're doing live. Big thanks to Mr. Keaton,
Thank you.
Eric Keaton, man with 1/3 names. Kelly Petronis.
Tomas.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Christine's gone. We love you, Christine.
Christine, I'm pretty sure fell asleep.
I hope so. I hope she's still there, just asleep. I love it. Yeah, thank you guys. Check us out, flyingsquidcomedy.com.